Tools of the trade, stuff we're using. It's a common question we get. I guess the rod builders, you know, we don't really need a lot of tools, but we like them. We're geeks for it and we want to own as many as we can. And people keep asking me, you know, can you show me what tools you use for this? And obviously when we're doing these videos, we want to kind of, you know, go through exactly and show you what we're using. But I thought, why not make a video now where we can actually go through and sort of highlight some of the tools that I use the most and why I use them. So let's take a whirlwind tour around the workshop and look at some tools.
I'm Gary Benny, English rod builder living in Sweden. I've been building rods for many years and now you're going to join me in my workshop going through tips, tricks, techniques, tools of the trade, all the things you want to know when you're coming to build a rod. We're going to drink a lot of tea, so join me on the ride. Let's have some fun. This is rod building. Let's do this.
So as we're already holding this, I mean, this is a tool I use a lot. If you're gonna use shrink tube when you're doing grips and stuff, I recommend you just get a heat gun. You can pick these up pretty much anywhere. This one's just light, so it's easy. I had one before, it's really, really big, but I got this one quite recently to replace the one that broke, and it's really good. It comes with different nozzles and things, which I keep to hand. And basically you can just put these on like this and, you know, anyway, yeah, as I was saying, you can put these adapters on, but go careful because these things get really hot, as I just found out. Luckily, it wasn't too bad, but safety first, guys. But as you see, we're not hiding anything from you. We all make mistakes. So we've got the tool wall. Now, this has got loads of different tools on it that I'm using regularly. I keep it like this because I want to get to it real quick. And you've got stuff like my Dremel, you've got my mask, you got my saws, all my tapes, glues, rulers, which are very important, just everything here. Now this is just like, you know, your general tools, reamers, etc. Really, really, really important. And we'll go through in a bit more detail some of the ones that I use the most and exactly why I use them. So cork, when you're making your grips and everything, now you've already probably heard about, you know, the basic kind of like cork clamps and stuff. You've got them for on the rod, you've got them if you're just doing small singular grips. Now they're great and they do work really easily, but I've actually found an easier way and I use these pump clamps. I really like them. Obviously you can't do super long grips with them, but generally speaking, I'm doing small sections, then I'm gonna glue it on the blank or put it onto a mandrel and then I'm gonna do it on the lathe. There you have it. These are absolutely amazing, perfect for doing shorter style grips with cork and even EVA. Really quick and effective. Top tip, get some pump clamps. So a pillar drill is a really good tool to have in your workshop. It makes light work of doing any drilling. You can have different adapters. I like this cork jig as well, so I can get centered cork rings every time. Really, really easy to have, not very expensive. Definitely worth investing in. Next up, belt sander. I use this if I'm just, you know, sanding down some grips, or maybe I need to, you know, sand down some blanks and stuff. You know, it's good, it's adjustable, just a good tool to have on the bench, really. And then one thing I wouldn't be without, if you're the kind of guy that needs to grind down guides and stuff, I recommend you get just one of these, just a bench grinder. Makes light work when you need to just sand down the guides. Quick and easy and effective. One of my favorite tools in the workshop, my toy, is my lathe. Now, this is a wood lathe that I have spent a fair bit of money on adapting and tuning it to get exactly what I want for doing rod building. I mean, when you buy a wood lathe, it's not designed for doing what really we need to do. We're doing cork and EVA and stuff. And also we're doing a lot of turning on like mandrels. So for example, you want to make sure you've got a lathe that's got a chuck tailstock on one end that's rotating like so. That's going to make it a lot easier for you when you're doing your grips. You don't have to spend a lot of money on a lathe. And to be honest, you could do a lot of this work on your power wrapper. And I know there's a lot of adapters and tools for you to actually make your power wrapper into a turning lathe, so do check that out. But if you want to get really into it, I recommend you look into getting a decent lathe. It's going to make light work of it, it's higher powered, it's stronger, and generally speaking, you've got a lot more room to be flexible and do advanced grip turning, etc. I can't believe I nearly missed the newest tool in my shop. It's my dust extractor. I mean, It works on a high powered vacuum, and if you're like me, you're doing any kind of turning with grips and stuff, dust in a rod shop is the bane of your life, especially in a small rod shop. This thing, it just sucks all that stuff away, gets all the small particulate out of the air, and just keeps it clean, really. So yeah, it was a real good investment for me. I'd take a look at it. I actually think you could probably adapt this to go on a power wrapper. It wouldn't be that hard to do. Maybe try it.
Safety equipment is really
important when you're building rods. I personally have ended up in hospital because I had a bit of dry epoxy in my eye. It was extremely painful and it took ages to get it out. So now when I'm doing any sort of form of cutting and things, I would recommend using some eyewear. They're cheap and really important. Then ear protectors. If you're doing any banging, drilling, or anything that's loud, this is just gonna make life more comfortable. Sometimes when you're doing long grip lathe work and it's a bit loud, just recommend getting some ear protectors. But the number one for me, and I've got quite a few of these around the shop, it's a breathing apparatus. I like these ones where you can change the filters on them. It's nice and soft. You can wear it for long periods of time. When I'm doing lathe work where there's lots of dust still going around, this is really important. But even when you're doing like gluing and stuff, some of the vapors coming off of certain glues can be a bit toxic, and just gives you peace of mind if you get the right filters that you're not breathing in that nasty air. So safety first. If you're doing a lot of rod building where you're building a lot of like gimbals or anything, I mean, I don't use this that much for the actually rod building, but a vise, a bench vise is really good. I mean, I use these soft grips where I'll chuck them into the jaws here. It's good sometimes we need to like remove gimbals or stuff. We really need to crank down hard on it. It's just a good tool to have. And then also when I'm cutting blanks, I mean, this is actually a tool that I found in a mountain bike shop, so your local bike shop, and it's actually designed for cutting like bars and stuff to size. And I absolutely love this thing. Chuck it into the vise, and if you're gonna be the kind of guy that's cutting blanks down like I do for tuner blanks and stuff, it's very easy just to put it in position. It's got plastic inserts, so you're not gonna damage the blank, and then it's very quick and easy. You can get a really good straight cut without worrying. You can do it with angle grinders, you can do it with a Dremel, but this thing's amazing. So in the corner here, you'll see I've got my deflection graph. Now this is a tool. I know a lot of builders don't have room for this, but if you can make room like I had to in my small workshop, I had to build a wall for it. You can get these really cool deflection graphs with these brackets on there, so you can easily adjust the pitch of the blank and everything, and it makes really light work where you need to work out guide spacing or actions and powers. You can even put two blanks on here so you can compare the two by just hanging the weights on them or just pulling down the tips. Definitely something I would consider getting. You can even mark it with a drywall marker. Yeah, just a really good tool to have, definitely beneficial. So reamers, this is something that is going to be in your armory of tools that you're definitely going to need as a rod builder. You can get them by hand reamers, you can get power reamers, there's all sorts of different ones. I like these ones with the grit on that you can glue on so you can change it up. I've even had to make my own reamers with a bit of carbon and some drill bit and some emery cloth for the really big grips. That's if you're not going to be pressure fitting, of course. The one I like the most is when you're using it in the drill, but you can also have them so you've got an adapter. This is good if you just need to do very small, like, increasements in the ID. Really easy to use. Use some safety eyewear, and then just simply use a power drill and yeah, go through it. And I like to do with the drill vertically and just go up and down. Don't push too much, otherwise you might damage the inside of the grip. Just take it easy and you can normally get a really nice central ID. Your drying rack. This is a tool you're going to be using to finish your rods. You need to have a decent drying rack. You can get variable speeds. You can even do it on the power wrapper that some have it built in. I use a power wrapper for actually doing the epoxy on. I think it's easier to do it at high speeds. And then I put them up onto my drying rack, and I can do 12 rods at any one time. Plus I've got 13, 14, maybe 14, 15 rods I can do. Now, I would love to have this, inside like a separate room for less dust, maybe even having like a plastic screen. And those guys that have it, they can even heat those boxes, and that's really good. Personally, I have the whole workshop really hot when I'm doing the epoxy. I even have a thermometer next to the epoxy, so I know it's 24.8 degrees in here, and I even have the humidity. So I know exactly what I'm doing, and that's gonna make sure the epoxy goes off right. So definitely make sure you've got a decent place you can do your epoxy. Even if it's on your power wrapper, it needs to be clean and tidy. It's a really good tool to have. This is a tool that I absolutely love, and you're looking at it going, what is it? Well, it's an air purifier. It takes all the dust out of the air. So every evening I'll turn this on when I'm not doing any drying, just to try and get any particulate out, and it's gonna circulate the air and all the dust goes through it and it's trapped in the filter. I've tipped a few friends off about this, and they've got them and they swear by it too. It just gets rid of any problems you can get. You're not gonna come in the morning and find small bits of dust flying around and may have landed in the epoxy. This is just gonna get the air cleaner, turn it on, go home, come back in the morning. It's just a really good thing. They don't cost a lot of money, and it's gonna change the finish of your rod building. So a power wrapper, most rod builders will know about this. There's different versions. This is the American tackle version that I've then pimped up with extra things. I've got a new thread carriage there that does 4 spools of threads with separate tensioners. I've got an upgraded chuck. I've got new rubbers on all the rollers. And I've even got another one which has got an extension bed, extra supports for longer rods. This is gonna make your life really easy. You can do grips on this, you can sand, you can cut, you can shape. You've seen me using it a lot, and if you're doing long under wraps and stuff, I really do use the power wrapper a lot. Not only that, you can dry on these as well. They often come combined with a drying motor built in. So it's really useful. You can have this in your garage or in your hobby room or whatever, and you can build really good rods. You can pretty much do everything you need with a power wrapper. If you don't have a power wrapper, then you can do everything on a hand wrapper. So it's not like you need to do this, but it's definitely an investment for the future. One of those things that I recommend you try and get. It's not a necessity, but it definitely makes life easier. And then we come to standard tools. I mean, these are the ones you're gonna use the most, to be honest. They're the most important. You always wanna have burnishing tools. I have loads of these around the workshop, like 10 just kicking around because you misplace them all the time. Really good for packing the thread and everything. And then when you're talking about your thread, you need a pick tool. I've actually bent this one, which I find a little bit easier. It's if you just need to pick around the threads, or maybe you're doing decorative wraps and stuff. Really good thing to have. Of course, a nice sharp pair of snips for just cutting your thread when you're doing your wrapping. I even have some razor blades to hand like this. I tend to use razor blades, get some decent quality ones, pay a little bit more money for them. When they're super sharp, it makes really light work of cutting the threads. Of course, you need something to measure with. Get yourself a decent ruler. I have extendable tape measures and these solid rulers as well. And of course, China markers, pens, anything like that for marking where your guides are gonna go, maybe grips are gonna go. It's really important. So that's sort of your hand tools that you really are gonna need. Of course, there's many other guys who've got extra tools, maybe even made their tools, but these are the ones I tend to rely on most when I'm building rods every day. Another tool that you're gonna have on your workbench is gonna be a tape dispenser. And some people don't have these, and I can't understand why. I mean, it's a lifesaver. It saves so much time. This one here, you can have 3 different sizes of tape. Makes it easier if you're gonna be putting on different size guides. It's easier to pull with one hand, get the bits of tape you need, put on the guides, maybe even do arbors and stuff like that. It's just useful to have. So yeah, definitely recommend you get a tabletop tape dispenser. A tool that people don't think about is your workbench. It's what you're using every single time you build. I'm lucky I have 3 different workbenches. I have one that I can do when I'm sat down, if I'm feeling a bit tired on the legs. I generally use the one where I'm stood up. That's the one I like the most. I've had it customized to exactly my height, so it makes it very comfortable. And then I have the workbench where I'm stood right now, which I call the dirty bench. It's not so dirty right now. This is the glue bench. It's a solid bench where I can do all the sort of like gluing, and if I'm cutting anything and stuff like that. This bench has drawers and stuff on it that I can pull out, and it's got good storage and everything. So it's a tool that people often don't think about, but definitely consider if you're gonna make yourself a workbench or something, just think about it a little bit. Pimp it, put your threads on there, your tool holders, and it's gonna make your life so much easier with a decent workbench. So that's tools of the trade. We've gone over it quite quickly. We've gone through the tools that I use the most and ones that I think that maybe you didn't know about or maybe often overlooked. If there was one of the tools that you want to go more in depth of, feel free to ask in the comments below, and I'll try to answer you when I find time. I know we've gone over quite quickly. There is some tools that I haven't put in, but it's going to be things like you see behind me, some screwdrivers and stuff. I think you probably know what a screwdriver does. You don't use it so often in rod building, but it's good to have in your workshop. Thank you very much for watching this video today. I've had real fun geeking out, going through the tools. I'm gonna go now have another play with some more, get some rods being built. If there's anything you wanna see us do, make sure you comment and tell us in the comments below. We'll try and create as much content for you. Like this video, subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much. This is Rod Building, and that was a wrap.